In this video, we are going to look at how you find an unknown side given one side and an angle in a right angle triangle using trigs. So before we start, let's just recall SOHCAHTOA, sine, cosine, and tangent. The sine of an angle theta is given by the opposite over the hypotenuse. The cosine of an angle theta is given as the adjacent over the hypotenuse, that's ka. And then finally, tangent. The tangent of an angle theta is the opposite over the adjacent side. So that's why the abbreviation is SOHCAHTOA, right? Okay, so first things first, whenever you're doing any question to do with trigs, label your sides. All right, so here my angle of reference theta in number 1 is 35 degrees. So the side opposite that angle will be the opposite side, and the side next to it or adjacent to it is the adjacent side. I always just like to label my hypotenuse because the hypotenuse, no matter what, regardless of where the angle of interest is, the hypotenuse will always be the side that is opposite the right angle. Anyway, to begin to solve this problem, you need to identify the sides that you're interested in. So those will be the side that you need to find, that's x, and the given side, that's 25. And those are your opposites and your adjacent sides. So now you recall your three trigonometric ratios and you choose the ratio that uses the opposites and adjacent. That's TOA, tangent. So now we can begin our solution. To begin, I'm going to write using tan theta is equal to opposite over adjacent. And then I will substitute my values in there. So tan theta, in this case, theta is 35 degrees. So tan of 35 degrees is equal to the opposite side, that's x that I'm trying to find, over the adjacent, which is 25 centimeters. So if tan of 35 degrees is x over 25, then to get x by itself, I'll multiply throughout by 25. Or another way that you could think of it is, well, you could put this tan 35 over 1 and you can cross multiply. So it will be 1 times x, which is x, and 25 times tan 35. And there you'll have x is equal to 25 by tan of 35 degrees. So x is equal to, and on your calculator, make sure it is in degrees. You type 25 tan 35 equal, you're going to get your answer, which is 17.5 centimeters, and this is taken to 1 decimal place. All right, because the full answer is a long decimal, so I just rounded it off to 1 decimal place. And therefore, the side marked x in this triangle 1 is 17.5 centimeters. Let's do another one. In number 2, first things first, let us label our sides. Now, x in this case is the hypotenuse since it is opposite the right angle. And the other side given here is the adjacent side because it's adjacent to the angle of interest. So the ratio that uses adjacent and hypotenuse is, let's look back here, cosine, right? Cosine. So let's start our solution. We're going to say using cos theta is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. Cos of theta, in this case, our angle of interest is 40 degrees, and that is equal to the adjacent side, that's 11, over the hypotenuse, which is x. All right, so I'm going to do my cross multiplication again. I'm going to say x times cos of 40. So in my next line, x times cos of 40 is equal to 1 times 11, which is 11. And so if x times cos of 40 is 11, then x will be equal to 11 divided by cos of 40 degrees. So now I check that on my calculator, again making sure it is in degrees. 11 divided by cos of 40, which gives me 14.4 centimeters, again taken to one decimal place. So let's just pause for a minute and look at the fact that if you have the unknown side in the numerator, like here, it's in the numerator, then you multiply the known side by the cos, tan, or sine of your angle of interest. However, when the unknown side is in the denominator of the ratio, then you divide the known side by the sine, cos, or tan of the angle. Now, it doesn't really matter that you remember later because it's algebra at the end of the day. So you can work it out once you have sound algebra. But it's always good to look for little clues and patterns when you're doing your solutions. Okay, and let's do the last one here. The last one, first things first, I'm going to label my sides. The side with 13 centimeter is my hypotenuse because that's the side opposite the right angle. And then this other side is my adjacent side since it's adjacent next to the angle of interest. Again, I recall which ratio uses adjacent and hypotenuse, and that's cosine, right? So first things first, I'm going to write that. I'm going to say using cos theta is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. And then I substitute my values in there. I'm just going to change the color of this marker. Right. So that would mean cos, my angle of interest here is 45 degrees. So cos of 45 degrees is the adjacent, that's x, over the hypotenuse, which is 13. I'm going to put this over 1 and cross multiply. So x times 1 is x, and 13 times cos 45 will be 13 cos 45 degrees. And then I type that in on my calculator. 13 cos 45 is equal to 9.2 centimeters taken to one decimal place. And that's how you will find an unknown side given one side and an angle using trigs.